Welcome, everybody, back to the Friar Talk podcast and YouTube channel. So for today's episode, we're going to be starting a new series where we're going to go through all of AJ Preller's trades and then grade him for each, not full year, but off-season through that season. So this is his first year we're going to talk about today. Probably the biggest year that he made in terms of trades in like the number of them, because he had a ton of trades when he came in 2014. But we're going to talk about his 2014 and 2015 off season through that 2015 season. So there's a bunch of trades. To start it off, Chase, do you want to just go through each of the trades that happen, and then we'll talk about the bigger ones, because there are some trades here that aren't super, they're not huge. But we'll talk about the main ones, and then we'll go over and we'll give him a grade for this year. We'll do this for each season. I think there's 7 full calendar years that he's been here. I think it is 6 or 7. And then we'll do a full grade, because we wanted to see how good is AJ Preller at trading, because we talk about the James Shields Fernando one, but there's a lot of trades where he's potentially missed on. There's still some that are up in the air, like the Austin Nola one. Sometimes it looks really bad, and then Austin Nola come back, he'll play well. Okay, that's not too bad. We've talked about the Friend Meal one a bunch, but we're going to go through all these. So 2014, 2015, this is the offseason that gave a lot of Padres fans a false hope. So, Chase, you want to go through all these moves, and then we'll discuss the bigger ones?
Yeah. So, in the 2014-2015 offseason, the first move that we did was we acquired Matt Kemp and Tim Federowicz from the Dodgers. And the Dodgers got Yasmani Grandal, Kyle Wieland, and Zach Eflin. The next trade was the 3-team trade between the Padres, the Rays, and the Nationals, in which we got Wil Myers, Gerardo Reyes, Jose Castillo, and Ryan Hanigan. We gave up Trea Turner, Joe Ross, Burch Smith, Jake Bauers, and Rene Rivera. Then the next trade was we got Derek Norris and Seth Strike and a national bonus slot worth $144,000 from the Athletics. And we gave up Jesse Hahn and RJ Alvarez. The next trade, we got Justin Upton and Aaron Northcraft from the Braves, but we gave up Max Fried, Malik Smith, Jace Peterson, and Dustin Peterson. After that, we acquired Will Middlebrooks from the Red Sox for Ryan Hanigan. Then we acquired Sean Kelly from the Yankees for Johnny Barbado. Then we got Brandon Maurer from the Mariners for Seth Smith. Then we got Craig Kimbrell and Melvin Upton Jr. from the Braves for Cameron Maybin, Carlos Quinton, Jordan Pyrobeck, and Matt Whistler. And then during the 2015 season, we acquired Corey Mazzoni and Brad Wick from the Mets for Alex Torres. Then we got Mark Zepchenski from the Indians for Abraham Almonte. And then we got Marcus Green and John Edwards from the Rangers for Will Venable. And that was it. That was all the trades made between 2014, the offseason, and then in the 2015 season.
So before Isaac goes, and I'll let Isaac start it out of those trades, I think the biggest one, and tell me if I'm missing any, the biggest one is the trade that was centered around Matt Kemp for Yasmani Grandal, Wil Myers in a 3-team deal, but for Trea Turner. I'm just naming the big pieces here. Justin Upton for Max Fried, and then Craig Kimbrell and Melvin Upton for Cameron Maybin and Carlos Quinton. I think any other trades that you think we should discuss, or do you think those are the 4 that I think had the biggest impact on the Padres?
Those are the 4 that had the biggest impact.
Absolutely. Yeah. Those are the 4 that got all of us Padre fans on our toes, excited for that season. Matt Kemp, he wasn't exactly a bad Padre. I had this misconception for a really long time that, oh man, I hate Matt Kemp. He was horrible, but he wasn't all that bad. I don't know if we exactly won that trade because Yasmani Grandal, he is pretty good, but it looks like Kemp, I'm looking at the stats right now. Sorry, I'm not looking at the screen, but he did okay. It looked like he slashed 265, 312, 755. So he did okay. But obviously not good enough for us to, really think of that as a memorable trade. So with that being said, I think personally I would probably grade that a C. I don't think he did horrible, but I don't think he exactly won that trade. The next one being Wil Myers. This one's pretty big because for those of you who don't know, Trea Turner at one point was a Padre. Who left in that deal? Trea Turner. Now, if Trea Turner is on the Padres, is Fernando a Padre? We don't know. But Trea Turner has now become an MVP caliber player, one of the best shortstops in baseball. Even one of the best players in baseball. Dude can run like the wind. I want to say he's the fastest runner in baseball. I'm not entirely sure on that. But just become an overall stud. Wil Myers. It's funny because ever since Wil Myers has come, he's kind of been like a, not in terms of production, but in terms of fan favorite. There was a point where like I'd go to Padre games and hear how much Wil Myers suck and how much people hate Wil Myers. I went to spring training and people would talk crap to Wil Myers. Like obviously, players are going to get slandered. And then now there's hesitance to trade him. People really like him. He had a really solid 2020. And I thought he had a great 2020 also. I mean, only 60 games, but he was fantastic in those 60 games. Coming off a down year, I don't know what's going to happen with him. But his career with the Padres, 253, 330, 787 with an 11.1 WAR. We lost. We lost. It's fair to say I would probably give that a D. Jose Castillo is also mentioned in that. I haven't even seen him. Gerardo Reyes, I remember that name. He's not with the Padres anymore. Hanigan turned into a serviceable player, but we definitely lost that trade for sure. Trea Turner left in that trade, and that's going to be the one that hurts. Another one that hurts, Max Fried, who, we're going to be coming out with the top 10 pitchers list, is in each and every one of our lists. We acquired Justin Upton and Aaron Northcraft, and we gave up Max Fried being the key name in that. That one's tough because Max Fried has turned into, in our opinion, a top 10 pitcher in baseball at a time when the Padres need a top 10 pitcher in baseball. I'm kind of thinking of this in the long run. So Max Fried in his career, 3.34 ERA, 447 innings pitched, 1.230 WHIP, and a 12.3 WAR. So been pretty damn good for the Braves. And last one, it was another one with the Braves. Like Chase already brought them all up. But Craig Kimbrell and Melvin Upton, I think this one was the one that was the icing on the cake. This was the icing on the cake for this year that really thought, like, we're going to go to the World we're going to go to the World Series. But, yeah, Craig Kimbrell with the Padres, 2.58 ERA, 59 innings pitched, 1.3 WAR. I mean, you only traded Maben Quinton and Jordan, the heck, Parabek and Matt Wiesler. So it's not like you exactly gave up too much. Carlos Quinton was kind of getting injured, and I don't even know if he played thereafter. But Cameron Maben,
he never had another at bat.
Yeah, exactly. He didn't play after. That's right. So Cameron Maben, I didn't even check what Cameron. Okay, after the Padres, 262 with 336 WAR or 5.5 WAR. Melvin Upton, kind of similar with the Padres, so I don't really think he won or lost that trade. I mean, maybe he won it just because Craig Kimbrell was okay with the Padres, but he didn't last very long with the Padres, and overall, we ended up having a losing season. So nothing very exciting came out of that 2014-2015 season. Obviously, when it happened, we're all very excited. I remember, at school, people were talking about how the Padres might be legit World Series contenders. Keep in mind, this was also the offseason that we got James Shields. And that especially made me feel like, damn, we might go to the World Series. But obviously that didn't go as planned. I remember it starting off pretty good, and then everything just kind of fell to shambles. Melvin Upton, I did not like Melvin. I mean, to be fair, I didn't like any of the guys we got. I'm just, I got to be straight up. James Shields sucked. I thought Melvin Upton had his walk-off moment against the Dodgers. Matt Kemp had a solid couple months. Justin Upton also, but none of them really stood out, and none of them were really memorable to where we can go back and say, like, damn, this trade made AJ Preller's year. I think they all kind of just brought his, to me, I don't like that we gave up Fried. I don't like that we gave up Turner, so that kind of makes my opinion of him go down.
Chase, you want to go next and go through these ones real quick? And then I can finish it up.
Yeah, so obviously, you look at these trades and you go, we could have had Trea Turner on the team instead of Wil Myers. It hurts, But when looking at the time, Wil Myers was a rookie of the year. He was coming off a really good season, and so he traded high. It burned us in the long run. I didn't like the fact that we gave up Trea Turner at the time, especially considering when you looked at the team, there was no shortstop in sight. We had a lot of, stopgap shortstops that were supposed to be okay until the next guy comes up, and we still waited 4 years after that to finally get Fernando Tatis being a quality starting shortstop. We went through the Alexei Ramirez, the Freddie Galvises. God, there's a few other names in there that you can mention. None of them worth any sort of money, worth any sort of time on the Padres. They didn't provide anything with. And we traded away our shortstop of the future, which turned out, hey, guess what? This guy's really good at baseball.
Chase, was Amarista the shortstop that year?
Oh, yeah, and Alexei Amarista. I forgot about Alexei Amarista.
Yeah.
I have
Was
his
he the
jersey
starter?
too.
He was a starter. Uh-huh.
Yeah, he was the starter.
God, I don't know that guy.
And then, you look at the Justin Upton trade where you give away Max Fried. He turns into an amazing pitcher, top 10 in the league right now. Justin Upton was with us, I think, for the year. You got 1 year Justin Upton, which we didn't even make playoffs in. And then we gave up Matt, turned into quite the serviceable center fielder for the Mariners. Don't know where he's at now. But Max Fried is the one where it's like, okay, you gave up another top prospect for a guy who, yeah, he was really good with the Braves, but he didn't do anything with the Padres, and it hurt us. And it hurt us a lot in the long run because Max Fried is a top 10 pitcher now. We give up guys that are arguably top 5 in their position, top 10 in their position right now for guys that are not even on the team except Wil Myers, who hasn't been the best. So, you know what? Giving this whole trade thing probably a D.
So that's your grade for just the whole class?
Yeah, there was a lot. We gave up a lot more than we got back.
Yeah, I agree there. So I'll go through each of these ones. Matt Kemp for Yasmani Grandal. Those are the centerpieces. Like Isaac said, we kind of look back at Kemp and we're like, man, Kemp was horrible. He wasn't really that bad. He wasn't great defensively, of course, but I think that he gets a worse kind of like, I don't know. He's talked about worse than he was. He was still pretty solid. Not great. Had a 0.7 WAR. This one I think is a D though, because you gave up Yasmani Grandal. He's had over 10 WAR since then. Like you clearly lost. I think you ended up paying more money because of that. And then who did they had what? Who Derek Norris start this year, right? Yeah, and he wasn't very special. And I'm not going to go over that deal because it was a smaller one where you just kind of bought a guy off the A's, as we've seen many teams do. But it wasn't great. It was a setback at catcher, and it provided you a little bit like a center fielder for a slight amount of time. Then you look at it, Wil Myers in this deal where you give up the big pieces you give up are Ryan Hanigan and Trea Turner. You get Jose Castillo. I mean, we've definitely been excited about Jose Castillo in the past, but he just hasn't played. Tommy John has really derailed his career. Gerardo Reyes, he hasn't really done much. And I think he got DFA'd not recently, but somewhat recently. But this one hurts. I'm going to give this one a D as well. We are probably a lot higher on Wil Myers. I would say that we might be the highest Padres show or whatever on Wil Myers. I think we might, just because people act like, I don't know. I think people act like he's a lot worse than he is because he's a lot worse than the money that he makes. And I think those are two things. And we've talked about in the past, the way that they went and they traded for Wil Myers. Chase, you talked about it. They might have gave up. Well, they did give up too much when it was Trea Turner. But even at the time, it was like, hey, this might be an overpay. They lose Trea Turner, who is an MVP caliber player, who's a superstar in the MLB. You brought up Max Fried. Trea Turner's on our top 10 list as well for shortstops. So that's pretty obvious. So you gave up a superstar player and you got Wil Myers, who I'm not going to give it an F, even though I think some people could, but at least he's an MLB player. He is a starting level player. If not a starting level player, he's a amazing depth piece. If you have him as a depth piece, obviously with the contract, that's not going to be the case, but it's not like he's a bad MLB player. So I think you have to give him a little bit back on that, but still Terrible trade because you give up Trey Turner. Justin Upton for Max Fried, that's an F. Justin Upton wasn't bad. I mean, he put up a pretty solid career with the Padres. He had over a 4 WAR, not there that long. Ends up, he's playing on the Angels for a long time. Probably a little bit underwhelming, I think his career's been. Put together a solid career, but when you look at this trade, you lose Max Fried. That one absolutely burns. Especially because right now, like even all the trades that the Padres have made, they don't have a guy like Max Fried. Max Fried would be the number one right now. He would have been the number one last year, and the way that the season fell apart. Now you don't know if Max Fried would have been a part of that, just because it seems like there's a lot of organizational issues last season. But man, it would have been nice to have Max Fried at the one spot last year, especially when all those injuries were going down. So that's an F. And then this Craig Kimbrel, Melvin Upton one, I always felt like this one got talked about like it was like the worst one. Dude, this is a good trade. This is a good trade for the Padres. I think this is like a B+ probably. You get Craig Kimbrel, you end up trading him away, and you get Melvin Upton Jr. And the guys you'd moved were Cameron Maybin, Carlos Quinn, and Matt Weisler, right? Carlos Quinn never played again. He got released. Cameron Maybin, he has a 5.5 WAR after the Padres, and Melvin Upton has a 3.3 with the Padres. Cameron Maybin played last season in the MLB. Upton's been out of the league for a long time. Upton was better. Upton was a better player after this trade, even though he didn't play for as long. But he probably could have played for longer. It was kind of interesting that he didn't. Great player. No, not necessarily. I think that it was kind of hard to go back and find like the money that was moved. So I did think that the Padres took on a lot of money in this deal, but we couldn't really find like a ton out on like where the money got moved to. Because I don't know if Carlos Quinn, if like the Padres had to eat some of his money or whatever it was. But overall, in terms of production, they definitely won this one. And then they got a huge trade piece in Craig Kimbrel. So I would give that one a B+. Overall, I would also give the class a D though. I think this was a bad year. And like you talked about, Isaac, when we were younger in high school at this time, we were super pumped. Oh, this is going to be an awesome year. They got all these guys. And it's like, there are some issues with it, but like, hey, they got all this pitching. I remember being at the Fan Fest that year. They're like, Padres haven't had this amount of pitching in so long. Then they said, no, this is what they said. I don't know if it was Hoffman or who it was that came up. They said the last time the Padres had this good of pitching was in '98, and this team has better pitching. That was a blatant lie. That was a lie, right? So I'd have to say that it was awful. But yeah, so I'm gonna give it a D. This was a really, really rough year for Preller to start. And it's gonna be interesting how when we go through all these trades, what he ends up being graded as. Also, in the details, in the details, I think, or maybe the comments, either one, we will put this list. It's huge. And it has like a bunch of information on these players. So if you guys want to take a look and see through that, it's super long, has a ton of info on it that we kind of put together to make this video. But Isaac, Chase, anything else you want to add on this class? And Isaac, I don't think you gave a final grade for the whole season.
Yeah, I need to give it like a D-. I say minus because I'm kind of leaning towards F. If you just get Max Fried, now who's to say the Padres develop him correctly? Because we've seen a history of them not doing it. But we can only go based off his stats from right now and how good he's been so far. If you have just had or kept Max Fried, that would be a solid C or a B. Because like Matt brought up, in no way did you lose that Kimbrel and Upton trade. Grandal and Kemp is iffy. And then Myers, like, not the worst thing in the world. Losing Turner sucks. But if you have Turner, who knows if you have Fernando. So I don't mind it that much. But if you would have just kept Fried, it would have been good.
Yeah, I agree with Isaac there. Looking back at it, yeah, this first trade, Preller, definitely did not start off well. And who knows what the other ones will. We can only tell you later.
Yeah. All right. So I don't know. I think we're not going to do another one of these like grading Preller's trades, but throughout the offseason, we're going to do all of it. And then we're going to put it in like, you can do like a playlist. So we will eventually have a playlist on this. We want to do a couple of those this offseason, just so you guys can go back and be like, oh, look, these are like another one we're going to do. And this will be later this week is top 10 lists. So we're going to be talking about like some of the top 10 lists. We're going to put all those together in a list. We're going to put all these, trade gradings in a list and do a bunch of stuff like that. So pretty pumped to be having these lists out just because there's not much stuff for baseball right now. But that's going to do it for today's episode. We'll probably have another one of these on the, 2016 offseason through the, 2015 offseason through the 2016 season. It may be another year next week, but we're going to have our next 3 videos this week. Nothing on Christmas. And then on Sunday, we're going to be doing a giveaway. If you guys weren't there last Sunday, at probably 9:30 is when we'll do the giveaway. But if you guys are in the giveaway or in the live stream, you'll have a chance to win. I think we're going to do a Joe Musgrove jersey. We might do someone else, but we are going to be giving away a Padres jersey. We'll probably have it on camera when we do that. But super excited to do that. So make sure to join 9:30. That's when we're going to do that. And I'll put a post on YouTube as well, probably Saturday, just to be like, hey, anyone, remember, tune in at 9:30. We're going to start doing this giveaway. So to make sure to join so you have a chance to enter. But with that said, that's going to do it for today's episode. So thank you all very much. And we will talk to you tomorrow.